Good morning and welcome back to the Conservation Growing Greenhouse. We had such an amazing response when we were in here the last time that we had to stop back and check and see how things have grown. We are absolutely amazed. It's gorgeous in here, and we wanted to give you guys a little bit more about the benefits of native plants as spring is getting a little further into the season here, and many of you are getting outside, and now that we're home and some of us have the time to get out in the yard and create a garden, we wanted to be able to give you some tips on how to add beneficial native plants to your garden and take some questions from you. So as always, we're going to give you guys a couple moments to get in and check this out with us. And of course, let us know that you're here, that you can hear us, you can see us, and we'll get started here in just a couple moments and then start thinking of those questions. Good morning to the Fleck family. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Rowan and Lincoln. Thank you for joining us again this morning. We appreciate everyone tuning in here and joining us each day. As always, we are doing these Facebook Lives each weekday at 10:30 a.m. And we're moving all around the zoo. We want to give you guys a chance to not only see our animals, obviously see our plants, see what we're doing for conservation, and just learn some new things while we're home and have some time to be together and do some different ideas. So let's see who else we have joining us. Good morning, Kenny. Hi, Wolfgang in Ann Arbor. Good morning, Melissa. Hi, Ulrich. We're glad you're here. Hey, Harley. Hi, Ann. Hi, Theo, William, and Marcus. Hey, Alex. Hi, Athena and Caden. Hi, Harley. Thanks for tuning in. All right, guys. We will go ahead and get started here this morning so we can answer as many of your questions as possible. Once again, thank you for tuning in and supporting your Toledo Zoo during this kind of crazy time that we're all going through together right now. As you can see, we are practicing our social distancing and we are wearing our protective equipment because we are all in this together. And we appreciate all of our volunteers who have made these awesome handmade masks for us to help protect us and our animals. Thank you so very much. And oh, we're having microphone issues this morning. Let's try this again. Give me just a moment here, guys. At least we're going to do this now, and hopefully then we'll be up and running for questions. Can y'all hear me now?
Try turning your tap on and off.
Okay, let's turn it on and off again. Here we go. All right, here we are. Yes. Let's see. Chris, you are exactly right. We are here to learn, and today we're going to learn all about the benefits of native plants. Before we do that, though, we got to get in our daily reminders. Don't forget, we're here each and every weekday at 10:30 for our Facebook Lives, and our education department is doing all kinds of virtual programs. They have virtual classrooms, virtual zoo tours. They're doing virtual horticulture lessons about some gardening topics, and they're even working on how to train your pets. So go to toledozoo.org/virtual to sign up for those. And we are still continuing our meals on the go. They are family dinners from our chef, and it feeds 4 to 6 people. They're $35 and available Tuesdays and Thursdays for curbside pickup at the zoo's Broadway entrance between 4 and 6 p.m. Entrees change weekly. This week it is honey glazed ham and make your own meatball subs. So check those out and place your orders for dinner tonight or dinner on Thursday. Pretty soon we're going to be adding some really fun things to it. You can already get dessert And you can also donate a meal to a local hospital worker out there on the front lines if you are so inclined. We appreciate that. We made our first delivery last week to St. Vincent's, and we are looking forward to doing more of those with your generous support and support from our vendors here, our food vendors here at the zoo. But coming up, we're going to be adding in cookie kits. Decorate your own cookies. So be on the lookout for those. They'll be available as of Thursday. All right, guys, we are back here in the production greenhouse with Jake from our conservation staff. And yeah, we were here just 2 weeks ago, and all of these plants were so tiny. And they're huge and beautiful and growing now. So we wanted to bring you back. Jake, tell us what we've missed in the last 2 weeks.
Well, the past 2 weeks we've seen some pretty incredible growth in the natives, as you can see. Several of them probably well over doubled in size just in that short time period. We've also seen some germination of the last few species that tend to be a little trickier. So in the near future, we're excited to be able to list those available as well. And we'll go through and kind of highlight a few interesting new blooms today, as well as a couple species that have recently really started popping for us. And then we'll go ahead and jump into just a quick overview of some of the benefits of native plants in the landscape. And then we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions that you guys might have. So again, as you can see, the growth's been pretty incredible in here, and our plant sales have started off nice and strong. You guys can feel free to check out our website at wildtoledo.org. We currently have over 100 species of native plants available for sale, and we will be offering both delivery within a 15-mile radius of the zoo for a small fee, and free curbside pickup here at the zoo, so that we can ensure social distancing practices and whatnot, and make it easy for you guys to continue doing your gardening and whatnot at home and doing it in a safe way. So check out wildtoledo.org for the current offerings.
And many of you have already checked out that website and placed your pre-orders. Jake was telling us before we went live that if things continue the way that they have with the pre-order, we will exceed last year's entire year order before we even get these plants in your ground. So that's really cool, guys. Thank you for the support. Keep it up. The region around the zoo and Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan is going to look beautiful, but it's also going to be really beneficial. Talk to us about the benefits of natives, Jake.
Sure. So I'd say the benefits are going to fall into three rough categories. So you have the benefits to wildlife, which perhaps is the most commonly thought of benefit of native plants. But they're also great at cleaning up the water and the air, and also they're really beneficial in reducing resource use. And I'm just going to touch on these three categories quick, and then we can again open it up to questions, but feel free to flood them in as I'm talking. So first off, we can touch real quick on the resource use. So native plants, native land plants have been on Earth for something like 470 million years. And that's a lot of time for natural selection to select for very hardy plants for a given area. And so the native plants in our region are actually not going to require any additional fertilizer or water or pest control like you might associate with a lot of common ornamental species. And so for a lot of people who may have a tougher time growing some of the showier ornamental, tropical species, a native plant is probably a better option for you, because truth be told, you really don't have to do a whole heck of a lot. You just let Mother Nature take care of everything. In the case of some of our urban prairies, we further reduce resource use by eliminating the need to mow what was historically a turf grass field. The labor and the oil consumption to maintain just an open grassy field is really astounding. And when you start to add that up over time, it becomes pretty apparent just how much we save by converting an unused lot into a very beneficial habitat for the native wildlife. So the next category of benefits would be the benefits as far as cleaning the water and the air. So native plants have very deep root systems, particularly in the case of our prairie plants, which most of the species in this greenhouse would fall under. And some species will actually even get roots that penetrate up to 20 feet deep into the soil.
And just for comparison's sake, our normal turf grass that grows in our yard, how long are the roots on that?
So the roots on typical turf grass penetrate underground about as far as the grass grows above ground. So you're talking 2-3 inches at most. Compare that with 20 feet and you can see quite a substantial difference there.
Absolutely.
And these really expansive root systems are great for locking up the soil, and they'll actually prevent erosion, especially when planted along creeks and streams and that sort of thing. They just lock up the dirt and prevent it from being washed into the water, which can lead to all sorts of environmental issues. Additionally, prairie plants are very quick growing and they lock down a lot of CO2 from the air, which can help to mitigate concerns with climate change.
Absolutely. And your third category?
And the third category, and probably the most popular, is the benefits to wildlife. So the native plant benefits to wildlife would also fall into 3 rough categories. So first off is a pretty simple one, and that's going to be shelter. So the physical plants themselves are going to provide a lot of structure, overwintering habitat, that sort of thing, for our native wildlife. Now, this isn't necessarily exclusive to native plants. However, in most cases, the native plants are going to do a much better job compared to some of the ornamental species that we have around here. Now, next up is another common one, and that would be the food resources. So, nectar, pollen are huge food resources for many species. And those are the ones most commonly thought of. Now, those also are very much a benefit of native plants, but some ornamentals will also provide nectar or pollen. But where native plants really shine is actually within the leaf tissue itself. So ornamental plants, leaves, if you guys look in any of your gardens at home or around town, where they have non-native species, oftentimes the leaves are going to be completely untouched by insects or animals of any kind. Nothing will touch them. They'll use the flowers maybe, and that's about it. Native plants really shine because the leaf tissues themselves are actually highly usable as a food source for things like caterpillars in the case of this swamp milkweed here, and many other species, particularly butterflies. Caterpillars are a huge predator of some of these native species, and that's a good thing.
I was going to say predator in a good way.
Right.
It is their, for monarchs in particular, milkweed is their sole food source, right?
That's right. So the reason that native plants are more easily used by wildlife than a non-native species actually lies, again, within the leaves themselves. So plants develop what are called secondary metabolites, and basically it's a variety of toxins and poisons and whatnot inside the plants that are used to prevent them from being fed on by other species such as caterpillars. And now, over huge lengths of evolutionary time, the caterpillars in this example have developed closely with the plants so that they're actually able to tolerate those secondary metabolites. So if a monarch were to try to eat something else, say a petunia from South America, they would likely be poisoned by the contents of the leaf and actually die. And so they're so specific to the individual plant species or family in some cases, such as monarchs, that they can really only eat the one species that they've co-evolved with over incredibly long time periods.
That is so very cool. All right, we're going to turn it over to you guys now. We've got some cool comments. Pamela loves seeing all of the green plants. I think it cheers us all up just a little bit to see things growing and kind of the normal springtime feel that we're used to. And Amber, that is so cute. She says, my daughter Skylar heard your voice and came running to watch. Oh, that's awesome. We love that you guys are tuning in here. Colton, Cassidy, and Isabel ask, how many different kinds of plants do we have in here, Jake?
Great question. So in here currently we have about 120 species of plants, and we're constantly looking to increase that number. So we have a lot of interesting projects lined up for later this year and future years, and we have no intention of slowing down our gradual expansion of species offerings anytime soon.
Very cool. And Alex wants to know, do you grow native tree species?
Another great question, and yes, we do. We will have to give you guys an update on that sometime soon. Currently, they're just starting to bud out outside, and we're actually going to be starting to up pot some small little seedlings here shortly. So we'll have roughly a dozen or so species that will be starting this year, and leftover from last year, which will be available for sale here shortly, we'll have maybe a half a dozen species.
Awesome. And Gail wants to know, how long can these plants be in the sun?
So that will depend on the exact species. Most of these plants, as I mentioned earlier, are from prairie habitats, and prairies are typically loaded with sun, and they'll have various moisture requirements, but most of these plants would be incredibly happy in just a wide open field with full sun. Although we have been over the years increasing our offerings of species that can be a little more tolerant to part sun or even shade.
And Andrew wants to know, do bees pollinate these plants?
Yes, many of these are pollinated by bees, also butterflies, hummingbirds. A lot of species will attract all three, so it's really fun to watch. Even a single plant can really bring in quite a lot of wildlife.
Awesome. And Annie, the website to purchase these plants is wildtoledo.org, all one word, or you can go to toledozoo.org and go to our conservation efforts, and under that is native prairies, and there's also a link to their sale on that page. All right, we're going to try that. Let's try that one more time. The website to purchase these plants is wildtoledo.org, or you can go to toledozoo.org, click on conservation, and you can go to our Prairie initiative, and there's also a link to the plant sale there. All right. I will admit, this question comes from my mom, and it is 100% true, you guys. My family says I have a black thumb. I can kill plants and flowers. Which of your plants would you recommend for my mom to grow?
All right, well, this entire greenhouse is full of them. As I mentioned earlier, all these species have evolved here in the greater Toledo area for years and years and years, and so they're very well adjusted to the seasonal droughts and wet springs and cold winter temperatures, etc., that a lot of other plants commonly sold and used in landscaping actually don't handle so well. So a lot of the non-native species really do need to be pampered, and that's when a lot of people kind of lose their faith in having a green thumb. But here to tell you that native plants are the plant for you. So long as you pick the right sun exposure and soil moisture and find a native species to match, you're not going to have to water, you're not going to have to fertilize, you're not going to have to spray with pesticides. You really just kind of plant them, maybe water them for the first couple weeks just to get them established, and then truthfully you can just kind of forget about them and they'll keep on keeping on.
You just let them go and they'll look great and they'll do great too. So good luck, Mom. We'll see how that goes. And Alex wants to know, are any of these plants native to Michigan as well?
Yes, there is a ton of overlap. We're actually working to add detailed county by county range maps of all of the species that we have to the website. That way, if you're from slightly outside of the Toledo area, you can still look and see for yourself exactly where these plants are considered to be native, and that way you can form your decisions around that. So we're looking forward to having that up shortly.
Great. And Morgan and Bennett want to know, how warm is it in the greenhouse?
So we like to let the temperatures fluctuate a little bit. It will get no lower than about 65 degrees in here, which is typically at night. And then during the day, especially on a nice sunny day, it can get upwards of 80 or more. After that point, the ventilation fans will kick on, but on a really sunny day, it can get quite hot in here.
And Max asks, what's the largest plant that you grow in here?
Largest plant in here, I'd have to say, is probably Prairie dock, which, if I can recall, somewhere down here. So nothing too big just yet, but this wildflower will actually get a flower spike that is about 10 feet tall.
Wow.
It's in the sunflower family, so it's a great big yellow flower, actually quite a few of them in a big cluster, and it just shoots up over the prairie, and it's a pretty incredible sight. We're excited. We recently planted a nice patch of these in our Prairie Conservatory in the Promedica Museum of Natural History, so you guys can look forward to seeing those bloom in the future as well.
And that brings up a good point. That is a good place to go see these plants throughout the year, because you guys keep it optimal conditions in there, so we're able to see native plants in all of the different seasons. So the next time you're at the Promedica Museum of Natural History here at the zoo, make sure you go into the Prairie and you check these out, because they're beautiful all throughout the year.
Yep, we're able to reduce the winter dormancy period to just a few months, and kind of stretch out the more active growing season to the rest of the year. That way it provides a lot of kind of more long-lasting interest, and there's always something new blooming in there. But truthfully, even in the dead of winter, there's still some interesting things that can be seen. So it's just a very dynamic exhibit and definitely worth checking out.
All right, and Shelley asks, how long have you had this greenhouse?
So this greenhouse is actually brand new. We built it ourselves and just completed construction in time to sow the seeds this past winter in December or so. And so this is actually our first spring where we were able to heat everything up and give these plants a nice head start. In the past, we'd actually be limited by the temperatures outside and had no additional supplementary heating, and so our plants would be basically just maybe popping out of the ground at this point from their seeds, if not a couple weeks from now. So now, of course, we've had months of growth, and a few plants are even going into flower, and then here next month, when conditions are suitable to actually start planting these outside, they'll be very sizable, and many of these species will actually be flowering.
And talk to us about how people will be able to get these plants.
Right, so we will be, again, listing them. They're currently for sale on wildtoledo.org. So visit the website and you can actually place a pre-order today. And then as far as actually getting the plants into your hands, we're offering two options. So the first one is a curbside pickup, where you can pull up into the Anthony Wayne entrance, and we'll have all of the orders organized and staged for you. And you'll just pull up and we'll get your name. You can pop the trunk, we'll load you up, and you'll be on your way. No need to even get out of the car. And the second option is for people within 15 miles or so of the zoo, and we're actually offering delivery to your front door for $7 per order.
Very cool. And as he said, it's not quite time to put these in the ground yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we sure are. So the best time usually is right around Mother's Day. You want to wait until after the last threat of frost passes, and that's typically right around Mother's Day. So soon enough.
And with the kids being home from school, native plants actually make, as you were saying for my mom's question here, and for others who are pretty good at what they say, killing plants.
Right.
These would be good starter plants for kids to plant and watch them grow and learn the benefits, right?
Oh, absolutely. A particularly great species to give a try would be any of the milkweeds, because not only will you see the plant grow from just a few inches tall, into a several foot or more plant with nice flowers, etc. But you can actually bring in monarchs even to just a single plant in your backyard and watch the entire life cycle unfold right in front of your eyes. Swamp milkweed in particular is a monarch favorite, which Corey is zooming in on now. And it's also really successful at bringing in even hummingbirds and other butterfly, adult butterflies, just for the nectar source.
And it's really cool. We've been in the monarch greenhouse before and seen all of the milkweed that you guys grow, and it is taller than I am, and all of the monarchs all of the larvae will eat this.
Yep.
And it's amazing. We'll go in and one day it will be filled with all of these giant plants, and then we go in maybe a week later and you can see how they have totally decimated the entire milkweed population. It's very cool to watch, and it's a really great thing as a supplemental science project, to not only grow the plants but then see the life cycle of the monarchs.
Absolutely. And if you have a more dry backyard, then there's other milkweed species that will work equally well, just depending on your soil types. Ohio has over a dozen native species of milkweed, and here in the greenhouse, I believe we have 7 or 8 of those. And so, if you're in more of a dry area, you might try butterfly milkweed, which actually grows in sand dunes and oak openings, or world milkweed. Common milkweed is another drought-tolerant species. And then we have more moist-loving species like the swamp milkweed, which doesn't truly need it swampy. It can grow just fine even in a kind of average backyard setting. Another good one is purple milkweed, also Sullivan's milkweed, and those 3 are particularly showy. And this year we actually added poke milkweed, which is kind of a oddball species that actually grows in shady wooded environments, which is kind of interesting.
That is very cool. All right, I think our last question here is going to come from Luke, and he wants to know, how deep are the roots for the largest prairie plant?
So the deepest roots of any species that I'm currently aware of is the gray-headed coneflower, and that species can actually penetrate its roots up to 20 feet underground, which is pretty incredible. We do have a few, if I can remember, it's easy to lose track in here. We do have a nice selection of the gray-headed coneflowers for you, and I'll keep searching and see if I can point them out here eventually. But check them out on the website if you're interested. They're really drought tolerant, as you can imagine, with those deep roots. They have a really pretty flower.
All right. And thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to remind you, go to wildtoledo.org, all one word, to place your pre-sale orders. And as Jake said, we have delivery service available if you're within about 15 miles of the zoo for a small fee, or we're going to be doing curbside. As soon as we have dates and stuff available, we will let you know. But go ahead and place your pre-orders to reap the benefits of these beautiful and beneficial native plants. And as always, go to toledozoo.org for all of the different ways you can stay connected with us during this difficult time. We are doing the family meals. We're doing the Facebook Lives. Everything's archived on our website and on our YouTube channel if you happen to miss one. We're doing craft times and story times and virtual tours, virtual classrooms, virtual gardening. We've got it all. Check it all out at toledozoo.org. And as always, if you are able, we appreciate donations to help sustain us during this difficult time. You can donate through our live feeds, our Facebook fundraiser, or toledozoo.org/donate. One more time, it's wildtoledo, all one word, .org for the plant sale. And we'll see you guys next time.